but we do have rats and mice in this apartment, which we've killed 8 in mine alone.
Right now on News 8, unlivable conditions. A Quad City apartment notorious for problems is suddenly shut down. Why people living there say they had no warning.
Then bringing life to an empty lot, how a former Moline car dealership could be the site of some new development.
Live from WQAD, this is News 8 at 5.
Good evening, I'm Denise Hinitka.
And I'm Jim Mertens. Thanks for joining us tonight at 5. Mice and mold, just some of the conditions people living in an East Moline apartment complex say they've been dealing with, and now they're being evicted.
The city deemed the complex unsafe. News 8's Christina Hepner gives us a look inside and explains why people are worried about where they'll go now.
Here at McKinley Apartments, there's been problem after problem. Now it's so bad inside that it's unlivable. Notices on the door warning residents they have to pack up and get out of this apartment complex.
Well, there was 2 sides, thank God, because I can get out of here now. And then, because I didn't have the money to go anywhere.
Joan Vargas has lived at McKinley Apartments for 13 years and has only seen it go downhill.
We've already lost our furniture because it was infested with mice and roaches.
Water damage and mold all over the ceilings. Piles of trash in abandoned apartments.
Ooh, there goes one right there. Yuck.
Bugs crawling all over, and the smell of garbage fills the building.
Living like this, for some, is better than not having anywhere to go.
Vargas wasn't prepared to have to get out of her home so fast.
And then to give us 12 days to get out, knowing we work, we have children, we've got school coming up, so it's horrible.
East Moline Inspections Coordinator Kimberly Grandinetti tells News 8, "We have had an ongoing history with this property for code violations, and the property owner filed bankruptcy rather than comply."
We were paying rent to the owner, Robert Simmons with Pennant Incorporated, and thought that the bills were being paid, and they weren't.
The building, now bank-owned, has an outstanding water bill of almost $20,000. With all of the problems, the city doesn't have the funds or utilities to fix it and deemed it unfit to live in.
And I just feel totally deceived, totally robbed. He was continuing to take rent, even knowing he was going to be leaving the property.
Vargas has found another apartment, but isn't able to move in until the end of the month.
We've got till tomorrow to get out. Hopefully the city will give us a couple of days extension, because if not, we're going to lose everything.
Leaving her and other residents scrambling to pack up and leave. The city is locking the doors early next week, and the fate of the building is unknown. Reporting in East Moline, Christina Hepner, WQAD News 8.
And the city also says that people living there can now request a letter stating the apartment is unsafe to get help with emergency housing placements.
New tonight at 5, one woman hospitalized for possible heat exhaustion in Moline. It happened about an hour ago during the disc golf tournament in Prospect Park in Moline. Players say the woman was competing in the tournament. A medic telling News 8 she was showing signs of heat exhaustion, but they won't know for sure until she gets to the hospital. Well, that hot and humid stretch of weather sticking around tonight.
As you can see, it can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Chief Meteorologist James Zahara in tonight with a check of those temperatures out there, James. Hi there.
It's going to stick around for not just tonight, but in the days ahead, that's for sure. Take a look at what we have as far as the heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. That is now stretched across around the southern half, southwestern half, I should say, of the viewing area. And this is really not going to change much at all, folks. I'm going to stress this for the rest of this work week, and that does include the first half of the weekend. Now, what we've been also noticing is some pretty toasty numbers around the area. You got some upper 80s around Highway 20, but 90 or better south of that. In fact, 93 degrees in Mount Pleasant and Muscatine, 91 in the Quad Cities after a high of 92. Throw in that humidity, and wow, those numbers are actually over 100 degrees like we're seeing around Clinton. Feels like 103, Iowa City, Washington, Burlington, right around 100 to 102 degrees. And that's not going to change much at all either. Now, what's riding along the outside of this bubble of hot and humid air are some pretty strong to even severe thunderstorms that we see right along the Minnesota-Iowa border. And as this bubble doesn't change, as long as this bubble doesn't change, you can see where it's tracking, then we expect some of our hometowns, especially just north of the Quad Cities, being impacted by the southern fringe of that line of thunderstorms as we head later on this evening. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you how this is all going to transpire, timing it all out for you and what that means as far as any more thunderstorms as we go through the rest of this work week coming up in just a few minutes. Denise?
Thank you, James. The South Rock Island Township is open for people to cool off during this stretch of heat. It's located on 27th Avenue. It will be open from 9 in the morning until 4. Developing tonight, the Rock Island County Health Department confirming its first West Nile virus found in a mosquito this year. West Nile is transmitted through the bite of a mosquito that's picked up the virus by feeding on an infected animal. County health officials are now asking people to report any dead birds that could have the virus. They're also monitoring mosquito traps that are operated at several locations.
Iowa students have about a month left to get their meningitis vaccine before the school year starts. For the first time in Iowa, all incoming 7th graders must receive the meningitis shot. High school seniors are required to have 2 doses of the vaccine. Meningitis is spread through saliva, can be deadly. Scott County health officials say the new vaccine requirement is stricter than some in the past.
It's important that parents get this done. In the past, the law has said, well, your student can start school and they can be there for 1 semester. This law is totally different. They are not allowed to start 7th grade without this vaccine.
Last month, county health officials estimated about 2,000 students still needed the vaccine in Scott County alone.
1 person was killed after being hit by a car in rural Rock Falls. The sheriff's department says that 21-year-old Dylan Thayer was traveling on Illinois Route 40 just before 1 this morning. That's when police say he hit 55-year-old David Tadlock, who was standing in the road. Tadlock was taken to a hospital where he later died.
A Rock Island man pled not guilty in the death of his former girlfriend and assault of 2 children. Sean Rogers appeared in court yesterday. He is charged with 1st-degree murder and 2 counts of aggravated battery. Rogers is accused of beating Rochelle Davis to death with a baseball bat and badly beating his own son and another young man. It happened back in May inside Davis's apartment in Rock Island. Rogers is due back in court next month. A fitness evaluation has been ordered for a Rock Island man accused of killing his grandmother and uncle in May. The evaluation will determine if John Conwell is fit to stand trial. Conwell was indicted last month on 2 counts of murder in the deaths of Eleanor and Steve Conwell. Prosecutors say Conwell beat both of them, then cut their throats. He has pled not guilty.
New at 5 tonight, the iWireless Center name is sticking around for another couple years. The president of the Quad Cities Civic Center Authority says the decision to keep the name was decided just this afternoon. That's despite the news of iWireless ending their sponsorship of the iWireless Center this month. The partnership will last for the next 2 years.
New developments could be coming to the site of the former Mills Chevrolet dealership on 16th Street in Moline. City leaders say they're working with a few private developers on plans for a new restaurant and retail stores on this site. The plans include keeping the dealer's body shop open, but could add up to 5 new tenants to the actual building. Mills Chevrolet relocated its business to Davenport last year. An official proposal is set to go to the City Council the first week of August. The director of the Quad City International Airport says he's trying to look for new development as well. Airport officials held a breakfast meeting this morning with Quad City mayors and community leaders. Right now, the airport trying to make up for more than $510,000 in lost revenue. The airport's director says he would like restaurants to build on some of those lots and the airport owns right outside the facility.
I've talked about trying to see if I can get a Portillo's or an Olive Garden or something that way. Then I find out from my people I'm dealing with that they want to go to places that have the bodies and not.
The airport board recently found fewer people are coming into the Quad Cities. The director says meetings are scheduled with some of the larger airlines to see if they would consider adding more flights here locally.
Tonight, the public can learn more about construction on the new I-74 bridge. The Iowa and Illinois Departments of Transportation are holding meetings to talk about Phase 2. Tonight's public meeting runs until 7:30 at the River Center in Davenport. It's a chance for drivers, business owners, people living near the bridge to all learn more about road closures and construction schedules.
We're to the point where we're getting boots on the ground and, you know, we're going to start to see construction activity, and I'm sure people have a lot of questions about, you know, what's going on, how is their commute going to be impacted.
Second public meeting will be held tomorrow night at the iWireless Center from 4:30 to 7:30. Still ahead tonight, beating the heat.
Feels good. It's like cold and stuff.
They got it figured out how Quad City kids are getting some help staying cool this week.
And Mother Nature may actually try and rinse some of this oppressive heat and humidity that we have today in the form of some showers and thunderstorms. Not all will be seeing it. I'll show you how it's all going to track as we do track these storms and how long it's going to last right after the break here on News 8 at 5.
You're watching WQAD. This is News 8 at 5.